Welcome to Pixel Pizza,
Did she say pizza?
your ultimate source for chiptunes, video game talk, and pepperoni. Delivered to you from Los Angeles and into the digital cyberspace of the 2020s.
Pizza power!
That's right, when super giant pizza.
I want a large, thick crust with double cheese, ham, pepperoni. Hey, where's my pizza? Pizza time.
Welcome back to Pixel Pizza. We are here yet again. You just listened to our chiptune artist of the week, Calavera, and their track, A Sudden Redefinition of Balance. So hope you enjoyed that, and now we are on to our interview portion of the episode. This guest is someone I've been excited to have on for quite a while. He is a very accomplished YouTuber who has been doing a lot of content on video games for several years now. He's found a following with both his complete history videos and his Kickscammers videos, along with his own podcast, the Slopescast. And this is, of course, Daniel Ibbertson, better known as DJ Slope. How you doing?
Very well, thank you. And I think you're the first person to introduce me as DJ Slope, plural, not DJ Slopes. Everyone thinks I'm Slopes because it's called Slopes Game Room. But
right.
Yeah, you got it. You got it. I didn't have to correct.
No, yeah. I do my research.
Love it. No, yeah, thank you very much for having me on. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. So I like to start off with the question, when did you know in your life that you wanted to work within games?
I mean, even at a really young age, I've always been really, really bad in English. If you read my scripts and my videos, the grammar is terrible. You know, entire paragraphs turn into one sentence. I'm really, really bad at that sort of stuff. But I always wanted to do something in gaming, and for the longest time, I thought I'd be kind of like maybe a journalist when magazines were more of a thing back then. I mean, that never really happened. I reviewed a few things online, you know, like Steam pages and Amazon and stuff like that, but nowhere of any note. But yeah, I mean, it's just taking inspiration from a few other people and deciding that's what I wanted to do more as I became an adult, I would say. I've been working for about 10 to 15 years before I fully kicked in with this. So
what were some of the inspirations?
So inspiration wise, I mean, I'm sure if you've asked that question to everyone's given the same angry video game nerd.
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, he was one of my earlier ones, definitely. But really, for me, there was one particular episode that really influenced me, and that was when he did a video on the history of like the Sword Quest Atari games as a British kid. Yeah. I didn't know anything about that, so that was really cool for me to find out this actual really cool history piece, rather than him shouting and pooing on things and whatever else he did. That was actually really interesting, a cool bit of gaming history that I didn't know about. So then I started focusing my attention on more stuff like that, and I've got very, very into lazy game reviews. Obviously, Larry Bundy's a big person here in the UK, and Ashen's earlier work when he did the video game stuff. Trying to discover more and more people like that. But honestly, the biggest influences have been people that I've sort of discovered since I've been a YouTuber. Since I've been a YouTuber, you try and promote yourself and you try and discover other artists that are doing similar stuff. And for me, that was when the floodgates really opened. I started discovering a lot of smaller channels and I say smaller channels, not anymore, but people like Kim Justice was a smaller channel back then. And I thought she did like insanely good stuff. So for me, it was exciting because I found people that were talking about stuff that I didn't know about. Like everyone knows about the ET carts in the desert, all the usual obvious stuff. But when I found someone that was really focused on talking about weird gaming history that wasn't the norm, that wasn't Doki Doki Panic is Mario 2. That's when it got exciting for me. So they're the channels I really sort of zone in on.
Absolutely. I've always been a really big fan of Norm, the gaming historian.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
He's been around for a while, and he's very good at sort of getting into, like, parts of the industry.
Mm. The thing with Norm is, and it kind of goes against what I just said, actually. Proper nice guy as well. We've spoken quite a few times. We haven't collaborated yet, but it will happen. Really, really nice guy. But so he actually covers, in my mind, a lot of the already covered topics. So a lot, like the Tetris Russian origins, and the Nintendo glove, and all the power glove, all that sort of stuff. But he does it in such a way where no other content that talks about that sort of thing is relevant anymore, because he just does it so well and goes so in depth.
Exactly.
It's next level. It's what people like myself strive to do.
Yeah, he really makes it feel like a documentary, I would say.
Oh, for sure. I agree.
So one of the questions I was really curious about with you is, the DJ part of your name. I think you said, you were like a DJ in the UK at one point.
Yeah. I mean, I've still got my deck set up next to me. I don't really play with them as much. But yeah, I mean, that dates back to the fact that when I was about 16 or 17, no, younger than that. What am I saying? About 14, 15, I suppose. Possibly younger than that. I don't know. Regardless, I got really heavily into music in such a big way. I mean, I was always into music. I've got a very cool mum that was very much into like hip hop and house music. There was a record label here in the UK called Street Sounds, and what they did is they would actually import a lot of music from primarily the States, like the Chicago house scene of the 80s. A lot of people. That's where I learned about things like the Jungle Brothers before they were really like a commercial thing, and a few other things like that. I mean, there was like Motown stuff, that the other mums will listen to as well, disco and stuff like that as well. But discovering these really cool elements, I grew up on that, so that was really exciting for me. When you blend that sort of cool soulful house and other types of electronic music with what the UK was doing and Europe was doing, there's a good middle ground. You start to realize what's absolute cheese on toast bad European dance music, or in my opinion, bad European dance music, like over the top cheese, Yeah. And what was quite good, you get that good middle ground. Even as a young kid, I remember really being into that scene and really zoning in on those genres of music. I got into DJing when I was in my teens, primarily just school discos and DJing at friends' parties and stuff like that. But over the years, I moved into like wedding DJing and stuff like that, really just to earn money as a teenager, so I could probably just buy more music, in all honesty, because you didn't have the internet back then to download it. And then that eventually got into club DJing, and I did the festival circuit a little bit as well when I started getting into heavier rock music as well. So there's a festival here in the UK called the Download Festival, which is it's essentially it used to be Ozfest actually, before it changed to Download. So you have all your Black Sabbaths and stuff like that. So yeah, I would DJ there quite a lot. But yeah, then eventually you get a family, and yeah, maybe DJing every night of the week isn't really the ideal thing to do. So now it's just more of a fun thing to do, really.
That's awesome. I had a guest on a few months back who's a good friend of mine, Jake Innes. He's also known as DJ Innes. He's from Australia.
Cool.
And he's done a lot of stuff in Chicago. He's very in with that.
That's cool. Cool. Yeah. I was always fascinated by it. The French France has got a fantastic electronic scene as well, and they have done for the longest time. Really, really good sounds coming out of there. And I mean, there always has been. You go back to, your Daft Punk come from there. Like there's some Cassius come from there. There's some great artists from France. I like following that scene as well.
A big fan of C2C.
I don't know C2C. I've got to say, I don't know C2C. Okay. I'm googling it now though. It's not the Cycling UK website. I'll find it.
Okay. Anyways,
yeah,
so when did your channel really start, and then how long did it take for it to really gain traction?
For me, it was literally from the very first video. So I wanted to create a video. Like I said, I was always fascinated by stories that other people hadn't told, and it was a little bit more underground, I suppose. And in the UK, we've got the home computer scene, and you're always hearing about the video game crash of 1983, and like I say, ET carts in the desert, all this other stuff. But that just wasn't us in the UK. And as a kid, I grew up on your Sega Mega Drives and stuff like that, and I knew of the Master System beforehand, but primarily, and I think this goes for most people of about my age, nearly 40 years old, back in the day, it was the home computer scene that was really blowing up in the UK. I mean, like one of the reasons Atari went under is because they were putting out not very good games for the most part, not all the time, but not very good games for the most part. But the worst part about that is that they were charging so much for each game. Put inflation, add inflation into it. You're paying what today's prices are, 40, 50, 60 for a game, and it's so throwaway. Where in the UK, you would get a game, I would say, probably on par. Some better, some worse, but there'd only be £1 or $2, or which would be essentially $2 or $3. It was crazy. It was so cheap. And then we were even tighter than that, because a lot of the time you would copy your friend's game on tape. If you had someone that had a double cassette tape thing, you would do that. So I wanted to talk about stories from the UK history that I wasn't seeing, that the bigger channels weren't covering. And the very first video I did, the story of Roland, which actually isn't the first on there. I had to delete it because of a copyright thing, and then I re-uploaded it. So it's still on there, you'll find it, but it's not the first video I did anymore. As soon as I did that, I went over to a Retro Gamer forum, posted it, kept refreshing. There wasn't anything there, but I woke up the next day and there was a couple of pages of people just like giving me a thumbs up. That's so good. And it gave me a buzz instantly. For me, I went viral, even though I probably only got a couple of hundred hits. For me, that was such a big deal. Yeah. And for someone that had less than probably 10 subscribers, it was a big deal. And so for me, that was kind of me going viral in my own back then. And I tried to put out one video every month. I think the third video I did was Streets of Rage: The Complete History, and it was still one of the best videos, most successful videos I ever did. Even to this day, if you go look at my top videos, it's up there in the top 3 or 4 or 5, something like that. So I just constantly kept trying to do that once a month. Then I changed it to once a week, and then I changed it to, sometimes one of those once a weeks would be an unboxing. So like, no, I'm going to make my unboxings a midweek. Now I'll just keep putting out once a week, and bit by bit it grew, and then over a space of maybe 4, possibly 5 years, I can't remember exactly. It got to a point where, okay, this is more lucrative than my 9-to-5 job. I want to do this as a 9-to-5. I want this to be I wish it was 9-to-5. I work every day on it, but it was awesome, and it's just gone from there, really.
Yeah. How do you kind of manage yourself doing this as a job?
People ask me that, and I don't have an answer. Every week oh my God, I've not got to where I need to be, so I don't know. I don't know the answer to it. I should have it set down where this day I'm going to do this day I'm going to work on socials, this day I'm going to work on this, but I don't. I just sit down and just crack on, and it gets done, which is crazy. The only thing I can possibly say is because I've worked in so many jobs since I've left school, I've literally never been out of work longer than a month. I suppose I've got that drive that you wake up, you get it done until it's done sort of mentality. Because I've worked in the more later part of my life in sales and marketing, and that's very much the mentality you have. You go to work, you get it done, and you don't stop until it's done. Yeah. So I should have it set up so that certain days I'm doing certain things, but it's just not the way I operate. I just sit down and get it done. So yeah.
That's awesome. You sound like a really hard worker.
Yeah, it's hardcore, but it's good fun. I love it. It's the best job I ever had, and that was the driving force for me. Wow, I could turn this into a real thing, and I've never been more motivated than to do that very thing.
That's fantastic. That's really what matters, is being
It is. I like I said, I've worked in salesy jobs before where I've been basically selling things I don't care about. like blades for servers and different things like this, hard drives. And that was one of the jobs I had. And I don't forget my sales manager. Well, I wasn't do too great one month in performance or whatever. He pulled me aside and goes, you need to wake up in the morning and you need to be, when you're in that shower, you need to be thinking, how can I get more customers? How can, and it needs to take over your life. And I'm like, and it was at that time I was like, you know what, screw this. I don't care about this sort of stuff. But then it did get to a point without me realizing that I was doing that. I was waking up, oh my God, what can this next thing I talk about be? When I was, you know, in regards to my YouTube channel, I was so interested in it and so obsessed with just wanting to create content and interacting with people and stuff like that, that I realized what I'd done is I'd become that person. I didn't want to be selling things I didn't like, but now I'm actually doing it for stuff I do like. You know, I'm selling myself in a sense, I suppose.
Yeah, so those skills ended up benefiting you in the end.
They did. Absolutely, they did. Yeah, for sure. For sure. I'd always be going out on marketing courses for my work. They wouldn't work for my work, but I'm always like, actually, this would work for Twitter, or this would work, you know, for whatever it may be. And yeah, thank you, ex-employees. You got this channel off the ground. Cheers.
Yeah, that's definitely something I've noticed in my life, is even when things seem totally unrelated to what I want to do or where I'll be next, it all sort of builds on each other. And the dots connect.
Oh, for sure, for sure. I mean, I always used to have to go to like business meetings with other people just to socialize, but I'd always think to myself, why? It doesn't matter. No one wants to be there. Right. But now, again, without thinking about it, this isn't the reason I do it, but you know, you go to gaming expos and stuff like that, and things do happen. You get to talk to people. I went to a kind of works with your podcast actually, a data disc record label event that they had up in London. They basically had a bar that they hired out for the night, or they were allowed to use for the night. They played chiptune music all night long. And while I was there, I was getting to speak to the people that actually run the record label, which I already knew via email. And they introduced me to people that worked at Sega. And that was my first step in the door with talking to people at Sega, which was, you know, pinched 10-year-old me. That was like dream come true. So yeah, like all those things that they you know, that push me to do for my old job, it actually works when it's something you want to do.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I'd love to get more in depth with like some of the series you do, because
sure.
One thing I was curious about is, you know, with your series on Kickstarter videos, have you ever had any times where people, like developers who wanted to make a Kickstarter, reached out to you and asked about, you know, what the consumers want to see and how to avoid that?
It was insane actually. Excuse me. I'm always getting, at least once a week, someone will ask me, does this look good? And unfortunately I've got to a stage where I can't look, because it's become it would basically become the new job, looking at and I've never created a Kickstarter, so I technically don't know, you know, like I know what makes one look good and all that sort of thing, but when it comes down to the nitty gritty on how to market a particular Kickstarter campaign, I've never done one, so I've never actually researched into how to make a successful one from a marketing standpoint. So, but yeah, people still do ask me all the time. In the same breath, I also have people constantly come to me asking why things have gone wrong on their Kickstarter all the time, asking me to promote their Kickstarter. The amount of crypto ones, it got to a point during when it was a bit more of a boom, the Bitcoin-y crypto thing, it was a bit more of a buzzwordy thing about a year ago. It would be daily, almost, I would say out of 7 days a week, 5, possibly 6 days, I will get someone talking to me about, do you want to check out this Bitcoin-y thing that I'm doing, or crypto mining, whatever it will be. It was absolutely insane.
Yeah,
I got to a point where I couldn't reply to them all.
Yeah, I've gotten emails from people who have wanted to come on my podcast to talk about their crypto stuff.
It's insanity. It's another world. It's like the way I see it with like the little niche that I'm in regards to, you know, retro gaming. It seems quite a big bubble with, you know, like I say, your angry video game nerd at the top, and then all these different people. But then I look at my son and the stuff that he watches within the world of Minecraft, and these channels are blowing up compared to anything I do, but then they focus on that. So there's so many small niches, and then you've got the crypto market as well. It just shows how big YouTube is as a platform. It's astronomical.
Yeah, it's crazy how much stuff is going on.
Yeah, yeah.
And one of the other questions, I mean, I was going to ask this later, but I think it's relevant now, is
Hmm.
where do you see YouTube as a platform going in the next 5 years or so?
I would love to see a proper competitor. And I know we've had other, your VidMe's and stuff like that in the past, but I would love to see a proper competitor. Without that proper competitor, who knows? Because it is a little painful. I mean, I can understand why they do it from a business point of view, because hey, it's them. They are a business at the end of the day, and for the longest time they didn't earn money. I don't know if that's still the case. I'm not sure, but what pains me is when I go on there and the front page is covered in the Tonight Show and whatever, these
Right.
absolutely astronomically big TV shows that are basically segmented now into YouTube. I love the point when you would go on there and you would see something that would actually catch your eye from not necessarily just smaller channels, but mid-level to lower channels and stuff like that, because it's called YouTube, because you are promoting, you are putting out there on the tube.
Exactly.
And that's what I would like to see, some kind of middle ground where there's, if they want to throw all of this Tonight Show stuff on there, keep it going. I understand they need to do it from a business point of view, but for there to be a middle ground. I don't know the answer, because who knows how it's going to go. It's scary, actually, if you think about it too much.
Oh yeah, it really is. It's the future. Could be anything.
Yeah, you know what? I wish I had a better answer for you. I don't know, because I don't know.
Yeah.
I hope they sort out their live stuff, because I used to really enjoy streaming on YouTube, but
Yeah.
I did discover, or at least I've come to the realization, my thought process is that when you live stream onto your main channel, it actually hurts your main videos that you put out there.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's the theory, but it's backed up by a lot of other people in the same camp. And that's a shame, because I've got a good audience there, good group of people that I would like to talk one-on-one with. It's just something that hurts the channel overall if you did. That's something that, if they're going to fix one thing, that's the thing I really would like them to fix. Live streaming and being able to get more people out there from smaller channels.
Absolutely. And yeah, something also on that same note I wanted to ask about is your own podcast, which you do on Twitch.
Yeah.
And so how is it recording a live podcast and interacting with the guests, and as well as your audience on the fly?
It's good, and it gets harder because I do try and stream to several places at once, so you've got to try and keep your eye on everything. I actually have a perfect little setup now on my 2 ultra wide screens I have in front of me, where every little segmented bit goes, and around the part where I'm looking underneath the camera, which is like right there in front of me, I have the different chats, so I can try and keep up to date with the conversation as and when it goes. And that's taken away from the screen, so my real focus is on the audience. It's good to do this sort of stuff, I think, because as a content creator, it's very easy just to stick to that one thing that you do, just the complete histories or just the Kickscammers for me.
Right.
But doing something like this, it keeps the creative juices flowing. Yeah, that's primarily why it's why I'm doing stuff on TikTok now as well. It's going from doing 1 hour long documentaries to 99-second mini factoids. It's good to mix it up and like I say, get the creative juices flowing. That's what I like to do.
Totally. Yeah. I've been told by so many people, get on TikTok. I mean, I'm 29, and even then I feel like, oh, am I too old for this? But
yeah, definitely. It's a weird one. I was trying to explain when I first got onto it, I didn't 100% understand it, but it was the same with Twitter. I didn't really know what I was doing there in the beginning.
Sure.
But it's interesting just to search the stuff. When you realize what you can do on Twitter is go to Twitter and type in hashtag, for instance, Streets of Rage, and find a whole world of people talking about that particular topic that you're interested in.
Yeah.
It opens up the floodgates into, wow, this is a great place to be able to actually interact with people. And TikTok isn't too different. It's the same as YouTube in a sense. When you search for one thing, like for instance, my wife last night, you think that TikTok is just a place where attractive ladies do dances to random songs for 20 seconds, which it definitely is. It's got plenty of that. But then if you just search in something like, I was talking to my wife about the fact that I made her packed lunch for today. And I said, yeah, check this out. And we looked up packed lunch hacks, and there was all these really cool ways you can make a packed lunch. And it was just like, because there's so much different content on there. And then obviously for video gaming, there's so much on there for that. So I'm trying to insert myself into there. I'm about 1,000 followers now, nearly. My videos are mostly getting over 1,000 views per one. So I think I'm starting to make a bit of a dent now. But my next hill to climb, I suppose, on TikTok is the live stuff, because no one watches me on live at the moment. I need to work out how to promote that better and how to progress that.
I didn't even know it had a live feature.
Yeah, it is, but you have to have 1,000 people follow you first. I don't know how it happened, but when I got invited to do stuff on TikTok, it was already unlocked for me. So I don't know how that worked, but hey, it somehow did.
Okay. Well, yeah, that's you've got a new platform to use.
Yeah. I mean, I've hardly used it anyway, and I'm already at 1,000 followers almost, so it was a bit pointless. But we'll see how it goes.
Sweet. So, how do you feel like your content has evolved over the years?
I without sounding big-headed, I think it's getting better. I know a lot of people, prefer the rough cut versions of the older stuff. I think most people that make content look at their older stuff and cringe a little bit. I obviously do, the microphone quality or whatever it may be. Definitely is better now. The lighting is better. The way my videos are recorded are better. I put my own remixes from time to time in the back of primarily the complete histories. All these little things I do to try and make it better. Different editing techniques. Takes a lot longer to do them, but I think the end result is so worth it. So I do think they're getting better with these little touches that I add. It was actually Lazy Game Reviews that once said, as long as you try every few videos or so to try something new, you'll never stop progressing, or however he so elegantly worded it, and I've just butchered. But it's something that I've always lived by, that.
Well, regardless of the wording, that's definitely a good lesson. So I think this is probably a good time to go to our musical break for the episode, and that is going to be a track from Calavera called Doom Scroller. So enjoy that, and we'll be back, audience, shortly. Welcome back to Pixel Pizza. You just listened to the track Doom Scroller by Calavera, and we are back with DJ Slope, and I am excited to talk about, I think, what you're known for is the Complete History series, which I love. And I'd love to hear more about your process about that, like first your research process.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm working on one literally today, my new one I'm working on today, which is the Boulder Dash Complete History. Every so often I like to grab one that's a bit more, not unknown, and Boulder Dash is far from unknown, but a bit more home computer scene, I suppose. I mean, it's not Castlevania, it's the other end of the scale, I suppose, from something like that. So first things first, I try and find a list of all of the games if I can, and if I see anything that jumps out as a notable port, then I'll add that into the list. So I'll make myself like a nice Google Doc just full of all of the games. Sometimes that's easy because there's only a few games in the series, something like Dino Crisis that I recently did. There's not that many games in that series. But 9 times out of 10, you're going to have something that jumps out at you. You don't realize, oh, wow, they did like a spin-off mobile game that, I've never heard of or whatever. So this one's quite a big one. There's a lot of Boulder Dash games. Whilst doing that, I'll make a note of any interviews that I can find whilst searching for whatever the games are. Then a good resource actually is something like Moby Games, where if a lot of the time, not all the time, but you can get hold of the find out who worked on the game. You work your way up and you just start working your way down from the director to the producer and blah blah blah. Sometimes you'll get a little interview there. If you're lucky, you'll find a nugget of some kind of Japanese interview that no one's really looked at before, so you can either get someone to translate it, or, as I have actually had to do in the past, get the Google Translate thing on your phone and hold it up to the screen and try and actually translate it yourself, which I've done on a couple of attempts. So yeah, you collect all this information together, and by this point, you've got a good idea on how it goes together. I then start writing my script from, obviously I've been playing the games whilst doing this, of course, leading up to this, but I start writing my script after the intro. The intro is always the thing I do last in my videos. So the first thing I type down, our story starts back in 1987 or whatever it is, and I start working my way through there, and it just goes on and on and on and on. A lot of the time I'm actually missing big chunks of the script out, where I just say, review this game, and bit by bit I take out of my list, that's where that goes, that's where that goes, that's where that goes, and eventually I've just got this ridiculous size script, and I've just got to then play the games one more time just to make sure there's nothing I'm missing, and insert it all in, and that's the whole thing. So that's the scripting side of it. I am pretty terrible in front of a camera, so if I haven't reread my script 4 or 5 times, especially if it's a long one, I will mess up every single line. And when it comes down to fixing that in post, it takes forever, days in some instances, especially the longer videos. So yeah, I do the whole audio. The audio mixing normally takes a few days because I like to make my own mixes and mess around with echoes when I'll say something bad, or make it sound like a record stop when something happens bad, or making sure I can clean up the audio if I've got someone that I'll ask another YouTuber, can you do this quote for me that this particular person says, and they'll send it over and it won't be the quality that I do, so I'll have to fix all of that with Audacity plugins that I have, not plugins, sorry, macros that I have. Once all that's done, obviously some of it I record on camera as well, which takes a long time. You put all that together like one enormous jigsaw puzzle, and then you just start putting bit by bit the video. It'll take you weeks sometimes, especially with the complete histories. It definitely takes a long time. But the end result is so worth it. So yeah, that's it. I've got a lot of love for that series. That's my baby, that series. Yeah,
it's definitely my favorite of yours. And
thank you. That's
so cool about the process. I did a documentary once, and it is so much of putting puzzle pieces together.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I've actually got one going live, hopefully this weekend. I'm just waiting on one bit of approval for it, but it's the I'm doing the Cowabunga collection, that new Turtles collection, but as a complete history. So I'm doing the history on all of the games based in that collection and releasing that, and that's been done. But at the very last second, just as I was recording, someone I know actually said to me, do you realize the reason why that did so well in the UK? And I was like, oh my God, I didn't know this one tiny nugget of information. So you have to run back online and try and find where they get that information. And then you have to kind of find out where that's going to fit in your script. But you know, you've done a good job when you're buzzing the whole way through the process. You know? Even if you're like, oh my God, I'm so knackered, I have to stop for the evening. You're ready and roaring to go the next day because you know it's a good story that you're telling.
Yeah, and the best when there's just that creative moment, that spark where you're like, oh, I just have this idea, I'm gonna put it in.
Yeah, absolutely. I did a completely off the cuff video. What day is it? It's Wednesday. I did it on Monday, and I pretty much almost wrote the entire script. It was terrible. I had to clean it all up. That's what I spent Tuesday doing. But I was, like you say, I had one awesome nugget, and turning that into a script and finding out more information about that one particular history piece, it was just so much fun. And that's what I spent Monday doing. This like, I'll tell you, I don't mind. It's basically looking into the history of Sega in India, which is a topic that not really anyone's really covered in the past. So I got really excited about covering all that. This isn't from India, but it's one of the Power Asia games that not many people know about.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, that's really cool. There you go. So I just realized people are listening in. I'm holding up a game from the Power.
Oh, right. I totally forgot to.
Yeah. It's a topic that I wanted to talk about for the longest time. And when I found out a bit more information, like you say, I had the spur and the excitement. Right, I need to get this down into script, and got the kettle on, made my coffee, and just went crazy writing up a script. So yeah.
Yeah, would you say usually your subject ideas come from things you're really passionate about, or things that just haven't been talked about, or some kind of cross-section between the two?
Yeah, cross-section. I suppose that's the easy answer. The way I do it is I have my Google folder, my Google Drive folder is just a mess, but I know where everything is. One of the most important files in there, though, is my ideas folder. And that's had some ideas in there that have been in there for years, and they'll probably always stay on there. But I'll look down there, I'm like, that's a cool idea. And now I know about this thing as well. I can put that with this, especially with Kickscammers. I've got so many segments already completely written, but there are only 2 segments, and I'm still waiting to find something else in the future. Wow, that would work with the celebrity Kickscammer video that I've half written, which is one of the ones I've half written. So yeah, that's how I find when I find interesting stories, or I think that thing happened, that would be an interesting video. I put it in my ideas document, which is several pages long, and then I look down it on a Monday or whatever day of the week. I'm like, I know what I'm going to talk about, and that's how it goes.
Cool. And one of the other things I love is when you have the opportunity to add like personal stories into it, like that story you had in the Tekken video about how it got you through that really rough time in your life was very moving.
Oh man, I forgot about that already, because I do videos and I watch them, and then once I've watched them and they've gone live, I won't watch them again for like years sometimes. Sure. But yeah, you just reminded me of that. Yeah. What was it, the Tekken tag tournament thing? Yes. When we didn't have much. Yeah, that was impactful. So for people out there that don't know, we was living in a pub, actually, me and my family, where I DJ'd a lot. But when we got kicked out, all of our stuff was stuck at the pub. We couldn't get in the pub to get our stuff back because it was kind of a hotel. It was a weird situation. Didn't really have much to do with me, but as a kid, I didn't really have much to go on. All my gaming stuff was there, everything. But the guy we was with at the time had a PlayStation 2, and he drove off, and we had literally a living room with cardboard boxes, a little box TV sitting on top of the cardboard box, like garden furniture in our living room at one point. But weirdly, we had a brand new PlayStation 2 that had just come out that people were going crazy for trying to get, which was insane. It was only like one paycheck away from sorting our life out and getting all our stuff back. But yeah, it was a weird situation. And I remember that I didn't have a memory card, so it was just me sitting there in front of the smallest telly, PlayStation 2, playing Tekken Tag Tournament. It was a proper memorable time. It got me through those hard times. Yeah. Yeah, it is nice to add bits like that. Yeah, you're right. I should try and do that more often.
Yeah, I'd love to see that.
Yeah.
So, of course, one of the other big things about YouTube is the comment section. And,
Oh yes. Oh yes.
I imagine, you have to develop a thick skin to sort of be on the platform, but how do you personally process comments when you get them?
I tell you what, it gets asked all the time at conventions, and more power to people that have less of a thick skin or maybe have mental issues, whatever it may be, because it is brutal. It is a brutal place. If you can't handle it, I don't know how some people can handle it, because you have to have thick skin, like you say. Like I say, I'm lucky in the sense that I've always had a job. Not lucky, I have always had a job, and I remember I worked as a waiter for the longest time, and obviously as a waiter you would get complaints quite a lot of the time, and you just have to deal with it, and you kind of develop a thick skin because you're out there in the real world, and you're dealing with these people one-on-one. So when a keyboard warrior says something behind there, actually you're wrong about that, I'm like, it's okay, it's fine. The best thing to do, if I was going to give any advice to those sort of people, is try your best to realize that if you meet these people in real life, they're never going to be like this to you. And I've learned that firsthand. People that are nasty to you in the comments, when they meet you at conventions, they're shaking your hand, thanking you for your content. Wow. It's something you can't teach. Well, you can teach, but it's something you can't just tell someone, just get over it. But you have to try and get over it, and realize that they're probably not meaning what they are typing down. It's probably coming across a lot meaner than it actually is.
Sure.
And if you do want to retaliate with kindness. Yes, you know what, you are completely right. I'm so sorry. And instantly they'll be apologetic back to you. And I've actually created friends that way, online friends that I speak to in DMs that way. So yeah, it's a tough one, but honestly, it's nothing that's really ever bothered me too much, if I'm honest.
Sure. That's a great way of looking at it and processing it, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
What are your hopes for your content in the future?
I'd like to keep it going the way I am currently. I always want to try and I'm always happiest when I create one big, massive project video, whether it's, about the Vega Plus or, the complete history of insert game here, House of the Dead, Splatterhouse, whatever it may be. So I just want to keep trying to make the ultimate best content that I possibly can. And like I say, when I look back 3 or 4 years and I see the rough edges that maybe other people don't, but I definitely do, and I know how to make them better now moving forward. I want in another 5 years to look back at what I'm making now and cringe a bit, because in 5 years' time my content is so much better than it is now. I just want to keep improving, I suppose is the easiest answer to that.
That's super important. I have an idea if you need it. Maybe this is already in your book, but
go for it.
I wrote a whole script for if I ever did YouTube videos about one of my favorite series, the Bust a Groove series. Bust a Move.
Bust a Groove, nice. Have I got it on the shelf here? I don't. But yeah, cool.
Yeah,
You've done the Bust a Groove complete history, have you?
Yeah, in my Word documents, but
wow.
The whole history behind it is really interesting, because you have the developers, and then they also worked with like a record company outside of that for the music. And then they had this motion capture group that they worked with for like getting all of these dance moves into the game. And it also was like in development at a time where there weren't really many rhythm games to go off of. So it's a really cool story, I think.
Well, maybe me and you need to collab together and work on a complete history together. That sounds good. I tell you what though, so I would generally be very interested to hear that, because I've turned down so many good typical complete histories because there hasn't been a good story behind it.
Right.
If it's just like here's a game, that's not the video I want to make. I like it when there's a good history. So we'll have to have a look and see what there is. But it sounds good. Sounds good. Yeah. I love me some rhythm games. I actually have a Dance Mat arcade machine in my game room. That's the only arcade machine I have in there because I'm just so into DDR. So I love me some rhythm games. And I don't know if you can see above me. Well, again, for people that are listening, I am showing the Samba de Amigo maracas.
Oh, yeah.
Because I'm a big fan of that as well. And I actually started working on a Samba de Amigo complete history because it's one of the few Sonic Team games besides Sonic that I haven't done a complete history on. Like I've done Knights and Choo Choo Rocket and a few of the others. Yeah. But then I came to the realization, damn, I'm not going to be able to make this video because it's full of licensed music.
Oh, yeah.
So we'll have to see how it goes with Buster Groove, but Buster Move, sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll see. It sounds interesting.
Yeah, it's super interesting. I mean, yeah, all the music was made for the game, but I don't know who owns the copyright. It's weird because it was published by Enix, but so maybe it's under Square Enix, but they've never even acknowledged it. It's a weird as far as
is it a Square Enix game? I didn't know that.
Well, yeah.
Well, Enix, yes.
Yeah. So
interesting. I know people at Square Enix. That would be a good one to do.
No kidding. Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't know that. That's really interesting. Okay, so you've got me excited now. PlayStation content doesn't tend to do too well for me, but I don't care. Is there any sequels to Buster Move?
Yes, there were 2 on the PlayStation. Then there was one on the PlayStation 2 that was Dance Summit 2001.
Yes, there was. Yes.
That I got in Japan. That's an awesome game. And then it's a semi-sequel. They used the same engine and basically the same gameplay style for a licensed Britney Spears game.
Right.
And the studio's last game.
Right. Wow. Okay. So obviously there's your licensed music, but I could work around it. They did the arcade game as well.
Yes.
Yeah. Interesting. Let's talk.
For sure. I'm glad you got something valuable out of this.
No, of course not. No, I was already getting something valuable out of it just by being on here. But no, I'm interested to look into this more. Definitely.
For sure. Yeah.
You was asking how these things come about.
Yeah. Just like that.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that was all I had lined up to talk about. Was there anything else you wanted to chat about? Any questions?
No, I don't think so. I mean, thank you for having me on. That's really awesome. I really appreciate it. And thank you for checking out the content, man, as well. That's so cool. That's cool.
No, I've been a fan for a while. It was, I think, during the pandemic when I was just working from home and had to have something on in the background. And
yeah.
Videos are great for that.
So it's primarily the complete histories that catch your eye more than the Kickscammers.
Yeah, I mean, I like those too. I mean, some of the stories in that get a little too grisly for me, for my stomach. But yeah,
no, I get that. I tell you what, though, it is refreshing because we're all victims of drama in a sense.
Right.
I mean, I class the Kickscammer series as my junk food series. Yeah. I did it as it was actually when I started doing it. It was primarily looking at video games, so it was a cool little off topic, just looking at games that didn't come out from Kickstarter, blah blah blah. But it really took off, and I decided to talk about it more and more. Now I talk about anything to do with Kickstarter, not just gaming. But now one of the main reasons I keep doing it is because when I do complete histories, I get so engrossed into that one particular franchise. It's going to happen with Boulder Dash as well. And it definitely happened with things like your Pac-Man games and all the other ones I've done, especially the bigger ones, where you just focus so heavily on one franchise. You get almost sick to the back teeth of just for the best part of a month, sometimes longer, looking at everything to do with Pac-Man, and it's all the only thing that you're taking in.
Yeah.
By the end, you're like, I don't want to play another video game, let alone Pac-Man again in my life. So, Kickscammers gives me an outlet just to be stupid and do something completely junk food related. That's why I call it my junk food content. You're being good. You're on your diet. You're doing the complete history series, but you need a break afterwards. You have your they're easier to make as well, those videos. I make something like that. It's good fun, relaxing junk food content, and then I'm refreshed again, and I can start working on my next complete history or whatever the next video is. So that's primarily why I do it, because I enjoy making them. I am a victim to the gossip stuff as well, and that's what they are. They're very junk foody, gossipy sort of videos. And yeah, like I say, it's a break from the hardcore complete history process.
Well, that's definitely super important to have.
Yeah, if I just did complete histories, I'd be losing my mind. And again, if I did just complete his Kickscammers, I wouldn't feel happy in myself, because I'm very interested in the history of gaming. Primarily, that's my main focus.
Oh, totally. That's what I love hearing about.
Oh yeah.
So anyway, of course, this is the Pixel Pizza podcast. I have to ask, where is your favorite pizza place?
Pizza place? Very, very easy answer. Giordano's in America.
Oh, really?
We don't have anything like that in the UK. It's not really pizza. It's more of a pie. Do you know what it is, Giordano's?
No, I haven't heard of it.
Okay, so Giordano's, it's I think it's based in California, but they've got a few different establishments, more in touristy areas like Florida's and stuff like that. But it's you buy one pizza, medium, for an entire family of 4, and you'll go home with half of it. Because it's not big, left to right, sideways. It's big up to down. Like, they put so much cheese in there.
Wow.
It's like you cut into it and it's like a pie. It's ridiculous. But it's so good. It's so good. We went there, and when we recently went to Florida, and it was the first one we'd had since my wife worked in Chicago for a year on a gap year, which was, I don't even know, like 15 years ago, something like that. And we were just waiting to get back to Giordano's, and it was so good, to the point where we even asked, can we have a box not done up like a pizza box, just so we can take the box home and then like cut out the square and put it on a wall, because we were in love with that place so much, which is ridiculous because it's like a chain, it's not like some mum and pup pizza place. It's a chain, but we're just so in love with it, and the fact that we only really get to have it once every like half a decade or so, it just makes that one time you go extra sweet.
That is such, well, I am in California, so hopefully they have it here and I can check it out.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, big fans of California. If we was able to move to the States, I think we'd probably move to, it'd be between California or Chicago.
Oh yeah, no, Chicago seems like a great place. I've always wanted.
Chicago's cool. But yeah, California was awesome. We went out there for my honeymoon, done a whole month, doing all the way through San Diego down to Hollywood. Yeah, it was cool.
That would have been really fun.
It's good. But yeah, go get yourself a Giordano's pizza if there are any in Chicago. And just get a small for yourself, and then take enough home to eat for the next 2 days as well. It's ridiculous. They're so big.
Wow. Even a small.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Great. So I think, that's about it. Daniel, where can everybody find your content?
Easy. Just go to any search engine, type in Slopes Game Room. Slopes as in an inclining hill or a declining hill. Just go to one of those places, type in Slopes Game Room, and you will find me. But YouTube's definitely the best. You'll find my best content over on YouTube. And hopefully make sure you write in the comments that you've come in from the Pixel Pizza podcast, and I'll make sure to write back as well.
Yes, definitely. Please. That would warm my heart to know people.
Definitely. Make sure it happens, guys.
Great. Well, this has been another episode of the Pixel Pizza podcast, and I am going to end this off with our last chiptune track of the episode, and that is called Invulnerable, Vulnerable by Calavera. So enjoy that, and we'll see you next week.